we need to zero in our content on the problems and the pain points that we solve and how those pain points are important and why they matter in today's world.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Hello listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Mastering E-commerce Marketing. Our guest today is someone who has spent nearly a decade helping companies scale smarter with video content. He's the CEO of SparkPortal, a video agency that specializes in creating high-performing videos for marketing, sales, and customer engagement. Whether it's explainer videos, testimonials, or social clips, his team helps brands and companies turn video into a revenue-generating machine. Beyond business, he's also a dedicated father of 4. So if anyone knows how to balance creativity, strategies, and a bit of a chaos, it's him. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a good one. The last one.
Okay, thanks. Nice. So Daniel, before we dive in, can you share with us something that made you smile lately?
You know, I thought about this before I even did that introduction, and I have my youngest daughter. She is 5, and I was brushing her teeth this morning, getting ready to go. And she looks up and she said to me, she's like, "Dad, why do you have hair under your nose?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I was like, man, I'm getting old if my hairs are coming out of my nose. So yeah.
It comes with age, right? It comes with...
Yeah.
Yes.
And it comes with age and also growing very resilient and strong-willed and funny kids. Yeah.
I mean, they're so direct and honest, and authentic. When we lost it, right? I mean, how can we keep that mentality throughout our life?
100%.
Yeah. Okay, great, Daniel. So why video? I mean, why video is important? What do you see happening in the market right now with video?
That's a good question. So I think as I get into that question, I think what's important to me or to answer that question, to contextualize it better, is why does it matter to me personally, right? Like your audience should be asking themselves, why is video important? Should I allocate resources to this? And if so, why? And like what makes it important? And so I think there's several factors. Number one is you need to step back outside of your business and your life that you have and what you're worried about today, and think in terms of decades, right? And see like the past 20, 30 years and what's the future. And I think to kind of answer the question in a long-winded way, I guess, the reason why video is important is because the technology has been developing to the point that it's going to become cheaper and more accessible to create content, to create impactful video content.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a double-edged sword because as the bar gets lower, the bar of entry gets lower to leverage video, the requirement to do it well and to have it impact positively your business, it's higher.
Yes.
And so, because you would think like, wow, like I can do more videos now, it's cheaper, there's more tools. Well, because everybody can do it, now you need to stand out. And so it's a little bit of a challenge because of that. And so the reason why it's important is, number one, it's becoming easier to do video, and it's becoming a way to differentiate your brand. But also it's becoming more normal for people to want to consume video. And so now there's so much content in the digital world, social media, TV, and all these different platforms, websites, and events. And so it becomes more important to create meaningful touch points with your audience, and video creates a very impactful experience. And so that's why video is important, is because it's one of the most, I would say, impactful touch points you can have.
Yes.
If you do it right with your customers and your prospects. So
Yeah, is the best way, as I said, if it's done right, to create this emotional experience between sellers and buyers. And I think it's worth to discuss quantity versus quality, right? And I don't mean the quality of the post-production editing, for example. I mean the quality of the like the real message that you try to deliver, like the content itself.
Yeah.
Like,
I quality is a very it's really different it means different things for everybody. But I think what you're touching on is the relevancy. How relevant is this video to the people that we want to interact with, or that we want to influence, or that we want to do business with, or we want to have them buy stuff from us. And so I think we can go. We could talk about this for hours, but basically, what relevancy means in my eyes is how does this mean anything to this person at this point in time? So I kind of split those two things, because you can say, hey, let's create video content for a father that makes this much money, that has this lifestyle or whatever. And well, what do they care about? They care about this, blah, 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 XYZ. But then that it's one set of criteria that you need to kind of like solve for, right? But then separately, you also have what's going on in the world today that you kind of have to take into account as well to make sure that your video is relevant. And that's how I kind of look at it, as like, as you plan video content, as you plan anything marketing related, you have to take into account the persona, right? The ICP, the ideal customer profile. But then you also have to put it within the context of what's going on in today's world, in today's digital world. And I think if you can marry those two things and find a good way to create content that is relevant for those two things, I think it usually does well.
Yes. And I like the relevancy, specific topic, but I think it's also related to where you are as a company in this marketing funnel. Are you in awareness stage, or in consideration and decision, right? Well, can you elaborate on this a little bit?
So what would be helpful is, when does the funnel come? Are you trying to ask about how do we make video that's impactful in the funnel? Or are you asking more about how do we create video that takes into the account the ICP and the relevancy in today's world, but also making it fit within the funnel?
Exactly. How do you fit? What type of content do you fit to each stage of the funnel? Because if you're like unknown, it's one thing, and if you are well known, it's other thing. I think in terms of the video you can create, in terms of the content that you try to deliver, right? Are you just providing product information, or probably providing other types of video which are more providing value, right? No, not just product.
So I have some thoughts, and marketers don't like to hear this, but a lot of the work, and I'm not saying that they live in a bubble that they don't know, and I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is, a lot of our efforts to market our companies, and I don't want to say it's luck, but a lot of it has to do with timing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is, at the most basic level, you have to be relevant to them so that when they're ready to buy, they know about you already, right? And so that's where the funnel comes in. Like, it's like it's that concept of the audience knowing about you before they're ready to buy, but then when they're ready to buy, they already know that they can buy from you, that they need to buy from you. That's how I think about the funnel in the most simple level, basic level. But again, like the timing issue, it's you can have data that tells you, on average we close, or we get this many people, and it takes 3 weeks, and it takes 15 touch ads or video ads, and blah, 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 blah. But that's not true every single time, right? Because otherwise, you can easily say, if we invest, 50 million, that means we're going to reach this much. And then, it hardly ever it never scales linearly, never. And so that's why we hire marketers, because it's not predictable. At least it's not as predictable as like some people believe it to be. So to answer your question, I think that definitely taking that into account, now we can have a conversation about what type of messages we should talk or we should send based on what funnel stages they're in. So, but I think for your audience, and I guess I do a little bit of learning from you as well, but in my audience, we do a lot of problem-centric content for the top of the funnel, like problem-centric. We need to eloquently and we need to zero in our content on the problems and the pain points that we solve, and how those pain points are important and why they matter in today's world. And so, in addition to that, we also strive to create content that relates to values, right? Meaning, can we explain the problem and how we live a certain value? Because that's what brand is really at the top of the funnel. Like, what kind of values does your company embodies that customers and potential customers could relate to, that, and that makes them say, when they watch a video from your brand, that makes them say, wow, like, yeah, I really, like, I never thought about it that way, but I really subscribe to that line of thinking.
Yes.
Like, I think that we should look at this way, or how they look at it, or, whatever. So I would say the top of the funnel, that's probably as a summary, that's kind of like the go-to, is like problem-centric content with, with a mix of values and sort of branding type of content.
Yes, it needs to have the right mix, obviously, right? And then a lot about, get to know the company, just building some kind of a basic foundation of relationship. And videos are awful in this, right? That's
and if you think about a link, on Nike, they do a great job at this. They always have a lot of branding campaigns about their values. Like, you see people using their product. They're not selling it to you, but they're using it, and they believe in hard work and like not giving up and showing up. And in recent years, we're seeing how different people can go out running, even though they don't look like they're athletic, right? They can wear Nikes and keep trying. And, that's sort of the general message in recent years. And so, yeah, like, I want to subscribe to that. Like, I don't look like an athletic person, but I want to go out running. Like, yeah, and I also want to feel comfortable while I'm running. So yeah, the next time I want to go running, I'm probably going to consider buying Nike shoes. And so then I'm ready to buy. And so definitely, focusing on brand at the top of that funnel is great. I'm not saying that we should only do videos about that, but definitely I could see how it's a regular approach that works.
Yeah. Daniel, what are the biggest mistakes companies make with video marketing?
Yeah. Well, I guess this has to do with a little bit of what we were talking about. So regarding the funnel, we only talked about the top. And I guess the biggest mistake, or not the biggest, but one of the biggest, is not spreading the video, the use of video across the funnel enough. So in other words, either focusing too much on the top of the funnel or focusing too much on the bottom of the funnel, meaning focusing only on lead gen or too much on lead gen, but then also just focusing too little or too much on the top of the funnel. And so you need to have a very distributed way of focusing on these things, because if you just focus too much on the bottom of the funnel, then you close fast, but then there's not enough people reaching the bottom of the funnel, right? And then you're back in square one, like, and so you can't just flip flop. You have to kind of like develop the whole thing. You have to be, I guess the word is, you have to give it enough to each part. So that's what I would say. And also, don't forget about the qualitative feedback. Talk to prospects, and then also talk to people that have bought from you. Hey, which video did you like? Like, which one was the one that, like, what do you remember? Which video do you remember the most, and why? Like, I remember this video that you did. There was a product there was a lady that was wearing a blonde lady. Like, oh my God, I don't know what it was, but her face just made it memorable, or the product just made more sense when it was like when you showed it this way, whatever. And so now you're like, oh, okay, like you would have never gotten that feedback if you didn't ask, right? And so we focus so much on the data and the length of the video and this and this and that, but the qualitative feedback is just as important, because it gives you the context that you need to come up with new ideas, to double down on what has worked.
Yeah.
So for the right reasons.
So in terms of you mentioned the funnel, what type of videos work best for every stage of the funnel?
So in that area, I would say recently we've seen a lot of companies wanting to focus on LinkedIn specifically.
Okay.
And so, and I'm sorry, I forgot your question. You asked about which videos work for each.
Yes, for each stage of the funnel, like if you're just on the lead gen side. Yeah.
So our answer might be a little bit boring, but basically at the top of the funnel, we want to focus on thought leadership stuff, and for our companies like that we serve, like usually the CEO or an executive talking on the phone. So we don't want the content at the top of the funnel to be very polished or very like corporate. We want it to be more like we want it to fit into the feed of the social media site, in this case LinkedIn. And so we want to maybe have some make it we want to have short videos about 1 to 2 minutes, top. And for us, it's mostly about answering or covering a topic, a question. So this is like thought leadership type stuff. And we don't want that to be like product centric. We want it to be problem specific, or a CEO or an executive breaking down a concept about what's a problem in the industry. But we don't want them to bring up the product, right?
Yeah.
And so that type of works very well on LinkedIn. And then we take like the sort of what performs the best. Because you release it, right? You kind of vet it organically first, and then you take kind of whatever performs the best, whatever stands out performance wise. You kind of take that and you rinse it, you rinse and repeat, and but not in the same way. We definitely want to try something new that leverages what we just learned from that.
Yes, and maybe if it works well, just promote it with ads. Or obviously,
exactly, and then we promote, and then we create a campaign that is rooted in based on the goal of the client, right? So if they want more brand awareness, then we could make a campaign that is rooted in that. But if they want lead gen, then we have to rethink it and say, okay, so we know that this topic did well, so how can we introduce the topic, but in a lead gen environment, or in with a lead gen approach. So, and for lead gen, and so now we're talking 1 to 2 minute videos at the top of the funnel, thought leadership, general topics. But then sort of at the bottom of the funnel, if it's for lead gen, we definitely want the videos to be shorter. And for those type of videos, we want the copy to do most of specifically for LinkedIn, we want the copy to do most of the conversion, but we want the video to become the sort of the scroll stopping tool. And so what that means is we need a strong hook. The first 6 seconds, very strong, and they need to be different. But again, even though they need to be different, it cannot look like too polished, because if it looks too polished, then it stands out for the wrong reasons. And then it's like, oh yeah, this is an ad. But if it's something that looks interesting, unique, relevant,
yeah,
then you're like, interesting. And so it's funny because quality, now we're starting to talk about quality. Like, people have this wrong idea that quality means high production value, and it does, but beyond a certain point, then it starts to have the opposite effect, right? It starts to loop back. That's like, okay, no, it has the wrong effect. People are avoiding it because it looks too polished, like it looks too professional, like, yeah. So to answer your question, the bottom of the funnel is more like we want to have shorter videos that just have that don't convert, mostly stop the scrolling so that they can read the copy and convert.
Yes.
And so that's basically the approach that we take specifically on LinkedIn with video.
And talked about LinkedIn and how it works organically, and whatever works, just promote it with ads or just repurpose it. What about long form content, where this fits in?
That's a good question. So define long form, because for different purposes you have long form. So for example, webinars are considered long form. Podcasts, 20, 30, or 40 minutes, an hour. But then also you have short, like sales enablement videos, 3 to 4 minutes. Those are considered long form as well.
Correct.
And so when you say long form, what do you mean specifically, so that I can understand?
So that product showcase, I think it's a very interesting topic, but maybe we also want to talk about those, let's say, YouTube style videos, right? Those 60 minutes videos, they can go up to probably half an hour, 1 hour, just more deep dive.
So where we use long form is on webinar repurposing. that type of content, that's what we consider long form.
Okay.
And so, and that is more like a deep dive, like hey, we're going to cover this topic and we're going to go deep on it and we're going to answer some questions. And so for a software company, for example, they usually include like a section. They explain a concept, a new product release, something that has to do, something around that type of content. But I'm assuming for e-commerce, do they use webinars a lot of the time?
Yeah,
What do they cover?
We just see the other ways, but I'm sure that like your videos, you mean probably just split the screen between the presenter and the platform, right? Product
Yes.
Versus people, right? In just giving this joint experience. Right?
Yeah.
So Daniel, how do you see companies, measure the ROI of video content?
Good. It's a good question. So if it all depends on the capabilities of the company. So that's a factor that often gets just like bypassed. Like, what should I be measuring for video? Like, well, it depends on your tools and it depends on your capabilities. Because if I tell you go measure watch through rate and you post a video on LinkedIn, for example, organically, you're probably not going to have access to that KPI.
Yeah.
So then there he goes. Like, I cannot measure the success of video. So it has to do with the capability of your tools and your company and how they can access data and what type of data they can access. But so I think it's more helpful to contextualize this conversation around which channels you can leverage and how well versed you are or your company is in the data and how deep you can go, right? And so, but to make it simple, I guess, to start simple, what I would always look at is how many people are watching the video, but then how much of it they've watched, each person, the average watch through rate. That's like my go-to data point that tells me whether the video was relevant or not.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, the average is most people will drop. So like if you look at it in a graph, like out of 100 people, if they start watching a video, usually you start at 75%. So out of 100 videos, 75% of it will start watching the video. And let's just say it's a 1-minute video, okay? So 100 people, on this side we have 100 people, and on this side we have from 0 to 100 to 60 minutes, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you watch the graph, it starts at 100 people, about 75% start watching it. So second one, probably 75% watch this. So 75 people. So you already lost 25% of your audience, okay? On average. This is like most videos. Then the first 25%. So I would say, so what's that 25% of 60? It's about 6 seconds or no,
15.
10 to 15 seconds. It drops all the way to 25%. So now you lost.
There's a big drop.
75%.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a big drop on that second phase. Yes.
Huge drop. And when you look at that, you're like, man, like that video sucked. Like, no. That's just average.
That's an average.
So if you lost 75% of your audience, you're average. Like you did a average job with your video. So it's not good, but it's also not bad, right? It's average. So then most people would watch until the 50% of the video, about 25, like in other words, 25% of your audience will stay on about 50% of the video, about until 30 seconds in length. And then the rest is, you're going to see another drop. And so about 5 to 10% usually stay on for the rest of the video.
Yes.
So out of 100 people, only 5 to 10, 3 to 10 people will stay on to watch the whole thing if it's relevant. So that's the benchmark. That's like the standard.
Interesting.
So what that means is, man, like, so if we send a video, an explainer video, or an ad or whatever, that means only 5-10% of the people that we want them to watch are going to stay on if it's relevant. Now, obviously, you have your best performing videos, like sure, like where you see like the data doesn't do that, right? It probably does something different where it's like you get probably 20% video stay on. And so if you don't know about anything about video, you're like, that's not that good. But actually, that's actually really good. If you take the average of only 3 to 5 to 10 people stay on, but now you have 20 people, that means you're doing twice as good as the average. That's like amazing.
Yes.
And so just to set the stage there, like people are very, very picky about what they stick on and watch the whole way through. And if you want proof, just you yourself count how many times you sit down and watch a video from beginning to end without skipping it.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, you're probably not gonna. You can probably say like, probably I cannot even. You're not gonna get yourself to watch a whole video without skipping it.
Yeah. Unless it's relevant, there is a pain that is supported by that video that answers some of the pain, right? And
that's why a lot of the content is either educational or entertaining. And if it's educational and it's something it's boring, then it usually has an entertaining aspect to it.
Yes.
Right.
But
so
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah. What I see a lot is this debate of entertainment versus education, and definitely for business. I mean, entertainment is nice, but it attracts the wrong customers, right? The wrong ICP.
Exactly. You don't want to be just entertaining.
Yeah, they will continue to find what they want, more entertainment. They don't want education. Education just captures more relevant audience. And, I love what you shared about this drop, in viewership, because at the end of this video, you have like your real ICP, real personas. You have it. This is the power of video, right? Just screening all the noise and the chaos, right? And just at the end of that video, you know that you have loyal customers or potential customers that you want to work with. And this is a great, vehicle for creating this, I would say, qualification, right? Which is so time consuming and really just helps a lot. So great.
Yeah. I would say by far, that's the best value from video compared to other formats like PDF and whatever. I'm not saying they're not valuable. I think that each ad format or channel or whatever way you think of it, video compared to images, to text, to landing pages, to whatever else, I think each one has their place. But where video excels and is way better than the other ones is the engagement data that you get around it is very valuable. Because again, like you said, if we know that 100 people watched it, started watching it, 25 stayed on to watch the whole thing.
Wow.
Like that means that our video was very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start seeing that trend as well, where you're like, okay, out of every video that we put out, like we see this consistently or somewhat consistently, that means that our message is actually resonating. And so then let's say if you have that problem that okay, people stay on and watch the whole thing, but they don't close, they don't convert. Well, that tells us that we're hitting the message, but maybe we're not hitting the pain point enough, or we're not. And then now you have real data. And you're like, wow, we need to change the way that we are approaching our audience.
Great stuff, Daniel. Really insightful. What about the business model, right, that you're working in? What do you see? I mean, what's working these days for you?
So I have to tell you our story a little bit. I'm going to try to tell you our story the quickest way possible. The SparkPortal is an experiment. A while back, I went from freelancing to owning an agency, or to developing an agency, right? So transitioning. And I quickly realized that I didn't want to deal with the losing clients and then hiring people, firing people. I wanted to build a more stable business. For me, that was my selfish reason, right? Like my motive. But then I also started looking at it from our client's perspective. I'm like, it's also not in their best interest to just overpay us for video and then walk away and not get the impact that they should have. So I started looking at it from their perspective, and I said, they're lacking two things: the production knowledge, and then they're also lacking the strategic perspective, the strategic marketing perspective of how to leverage video properly.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how can I solve for that in a way that I don't have to overcharge for video, but we have the time that we need to create video campaigns and give us enough time? Because the reality is you need years of experimentation, like ongoing experimentation, to really get to a point where you truly understand how to leverage, how to use a tool properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, sure, we can get in there and start getting some wins in 3 months or whatever, but or a month, or with the first video that we do. But if you want consistent growth, and if you want to start to truly leverage video properly, you need to experiment over time and learn and adapt over time. And you just need time. You need many quarters for that. You need many months, many years. So even if you do have the budget. So that's a harsh reality that marketers deal with on a daily basis, because they go to these meetings every quarter, every month, and their CEO says, no, we have these like crazy growth goals. And now the marketer has to kind of like say, okay, I need to work on the long-term success of it, but I also need to secure some wins in the short term. And so that's why, anyways, I don't want to go too deep on this, but basically I quickly realized that if I wanted to truly bring this kind of impact, this level of business impact on our clients' businesses, we needed to partner in a different way. And if I also wanted to have a more secure relationship with our clients, where they look at us long term and not just like on a project basis, I needed to develop something new. And so in 2019, we started to go after video as a service clients, and we shifted from project based to video as a service. And it's been a challenge. And so it's been a long road. And so earlier this year, we just hired our first strategy role. And so we've been focusing so much on the volume and the production that now we're actually focusing on the strategy even more so than before. And so we're very excited about that, because it's going to make our offering even better. And so our model, basically, that was a long answer to your question, but that's the story of how we decided to do this. And so we do leave a lot of money on the table initially in our contracts, because it requires our clients to kind of take a bet on us, because usually what happens is when they hire a video agency, they say, okay, we charge, $10,000-$15,000 per project, or per this asset, or per this video, whatever. And from there it could go up or down, right? But they charge, that's production. But the production usually doesn't come with any strategic advice. So then it's up to you to the client to say, are we going to leverage the video properly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the video looks awesome. And yes, we have 15 videos or 5 videos or 1 video, whatever it may be. But then the question becomes, are we going to use this in the right way? And what if we need other versions? And so then now the strategy starts to creep in, and you're like, yeah, I should have confronted the strategy problem before.
Yeah.
So because video, it's such a multi-skill endeavor. Oftentimes clients end up overpaying for quality because they need to justify it to their boss, but they forget the strategy side, and they're not experts either. The marketer usually is not expert on video.
Yeah.
And so they know that they need to address it, but they don't know how to. Like, they don't know exactly the lengths, the sizes. There's just so many channels. So there's this huge gap. So that's where we come in and we say, okay, we can help you with the strategy, and not just for this campaign, but going like forward. We need to develop these experiments to figure out what works for your brand, video wise. And so that's how we look at it. That's our business model. We kind of help you grow so that with not just the production, but the strategy as well. And so we have those two things married, and it creates for a beautiful experience for our clients as well. Because they feel supported, right? They don't feel like burnt every time they do a project.
Yes. It's just having this longer term, right? And just working on KPIs, have the strategic, advisory that helps you throughout the process, just getting there, because it takes time, as you said. It's not can be one-off.
One of our clients, this always stuck with me. She's like, when it came time to renewal, because we have monthly, quarterly, and annual terms. And so she did an annual deal with us. And so when it came time to renew, this is her first year with us. She's like, hey, Daniel, like, I'm so proud for everything we've done. And she's like, and just to let you know, she's like, and everybody knows this, the economy has been softer, right, in the past 2 or 3 years. And she's like, the only agency that we're keeping is you guys.
Wow.
She's like, my boss told us directly that we shouldn't touch SparkPortal's budget, or video budget. And I'm not going to attribute that to us. So I'm going to attribute that to, yes, us, part of it, but mostly the fact that video is becoming such a key differentiator. And so it's a way for companies to really say, hey, our competitors are using video, but they're not really winning with video. So how can we win with video so that we can differentiate ourselves? And so now you create a true business differentiator, a true business competitive advantage that is very difficult to replicate. And so that's the goal, is to get people to think about video as a strategic decision for their business, so that they can compete in the market in a way that it gives them leverage, basically.
Yeah, I think it's something that you've built as a necessity, right? I hear it from customers, and you saw there's an opportunity here to take more of a strategic role. So that makes a lot of sense. Great, Daniel. So how people can find you in SparkPortal?
Well, they can go to our website, SparkPortal, and they can also find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Borba. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Daniel, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. It was really, really interesting. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimeo, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimeo at www.vimeo.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free for life package. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more valuable insights in our next episode.